Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our reaction and review for The Bear Season 2, Episode 3, Sundae. Who wants a sundae, everyone? Who wants every single piece of food that they saw in this episode?
I had never wanted pasta more in my life than after watching this episode. And I know that this episode ends with Sydney trying to make pasta and her being like, nope, still not right, still not good. But I was like, man, that looks so good to me.
It was so delicious looking. I
Mm.
I wish that I could make fresh pasta. This is culinary admission time. I have tried before. I have failed every single time. It is really, really hard. I mean, this from a culinary standpoint, man, this is such a cool episode to watch, to look at for like if you were the city of Chicago, you were doing victory laps, you were playing variations of We Are the Champions. You are just like tourism money is coming in. But
Yep.
there's a meaning behind all of this, and
Yes.
this is Sydney trying to find herself as a part of this partnership because we also see kind of all the underlying tension that is going on here between her and Carmy as they try to figure out what this restaurant is going to be.
Yeah, this episode really showed me the divide of these two and how much they really need to come together. I mean, there's only 11 weeks and you got Carmy going off on like, let me help you move. We got to talk all about Claire because I'm not here for this Claire storyline. Like you can just go. But it really does show me like how much Sydney needs to actually be an equal partner with Carmy and how much he really needs her to be that. But when they're together, they're explosive. They make things happen. Like they really create together and then you separate them. And this happens where we see Sydney just like go on this whole tour of the city, having all these different inspirations coming together for her to get to the end of this episode and make that pasta and be like, nope, still bad. But if Carmy had been there, would it have been different? I think so.
I think so too, because it's important for all of us in life, not just in the world of food, but all of us in life to have somebody who challenges you,
Yeah.
somebody who gives you a different point of view, gives you suggestions. Like they're both really smart people who occasionally just fail to get out of their own way because they get stuck in their own head. They think that they know best. And, with somebody like Carmy in particular, who is going to these meetings, who is like doing something to try to improve himself, he still cannot see it. And it's a frustrating thing to watch, but it's also a fascinating thing to watch because it's a part of what makes this show so good. And it's amazing that this is such a great episode with like Cousin's not even really around. Like, Richie, we love Richie. This show manages to deliver even without as much Richie.
That little scene with Richie and his daughter was so cute. And I mean, even when she was like, Mom got a promotion, but you still have to pay child support because fair is fair. I was like, oh my God, she's so cute. And his response of just like, I love taking care of you. I was just like, oh, ow. Oh my goodness.
More
Richie.
More. Just like it's all you give us, but it's okay. It's okay. We still have a lot more of season 2 to go. So before we dive further into this meal of an episode, if you guys want to support us further, be sure to join our Patreon. We've got that link in the description below. That is a source of weekly live streams. We talk all about The Bear, all sorts of other TV shows. And by doing that, joining our Patreon, you help to enable us to continue to make these videos. We love to do so much for you guys. So thank you for your support. We really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's just get even more into this food tour because there's so many different things in the Sydney storyline that I really love. I mean, obviously there's the food part of it, but there's also this other part of it where you get the sense that top quality servers and cooks and all these other professions in Chicago, there's a real premium on this and nobody wants to lose anybody. And that's why you see Sydney try to get some advice from various people, various chefs, various front of house people, and all of them seem somewhat eager to help her, but they're also kind of just like slowly inching back because they're just like, whoa, okay, we want to support you, but we don't want the competition and we don't want to lose any good people to you.
That's the hardest thing about being in any business, really, is, when you're just starting out, you really need help and you need to be able to sort of talk to somebody who could be like a mentor who could help you. But yeah, people on the other side that are successful are like, okay, if I help this person, now they're my competition. I can give them some help, but I can't give away everything. Or like, what am I doing to myself and what am I doing to my own business? It's a really difficult line to tread there.
It is, and it's a hard thing in an industry that they clearly showed early on in this episode is already struggling, and it's struggling
Yeah.
really mightily. I mean, we have to remember when The Bear season 2 was
Mhm.
filmed, when it was set, it was kind of on the other side of this health crisis where you've seen a lot of institutions shut down. And
Yep.
this isn't just Chicago, this is all of the country. And so it's a real problem that is already going on. And I mean, the most direct, obvious instance of all of this is Sydney walking by a bunch of people outside a restaurant, and she just sort of casually throws this out there, and out comes the chef who's just like, what do you think you're
Yeah, I
doing?
know.
It's they're that protective of these people at this point, but she knows, hey, we need more people at the restaurant. What are we gonna do to make it happen? Nobody's calling, nobody's responding. Like we're just not getting it.
The thing that I really took away from this is, we saw at the beginning her and Carmy trying to work on some recipes. It wasn't going well. They're like, okay, we're going to go out together and we're going to go to a different bunch of places and we're going to get inspiration. Then we're going to come back and try again. We need a palate cleanser. We're going to do this together.
Yeah.
Of course, we saw that he ends up pulling out on that, and we'll get into all of that a bit later. But as she's going through this by herself, where she's texting him, she's like, where are you? Where are you? And finally he's like, I'm not going to be able to, show up, sort of thing. And she's like, cool. He's already like just pulled the chute on me. He's gone. She has a couple of conversations with people who are kind of like, hey, the most important thing you need to have is a partner you can rely on.
Mhm.
And she's doing this by herself.
Yeah.
Carmy was not reliable this day. And for what?
That's the thing.
For what? Like, listen, he gave this girl a fake number
Yeah.
on purpose. He knew, not necessarily that he wasn't interested, but he knew that he didn't have the time for this. He has a
Yeah.
very, very short timeline. He has a ton of people that are really depending on him. He doesn't have time for this. And instead of basically being like, hey, I'm not available for the next like 3 or 4 months, we'll get in touch then, and just being honest about it.
Yeah.
He's like, I just don't have time for this. And if you don't have time for this and you give a fake number, me on the other side, if somebody gave me a fake number,
Yeah.
like, I'm not going to go looking to get the right number and then call that person. Like, goodbye. And it
Yeah.
felt very desperate. And I'm sorry, I've got my hard hat on for everyone out there who's like, I really like Claire and I want to see her with Carmy. I don't know how it all plays out. But for me, it felt really desperate. If somebody gives you a fake number, they don't want to be with you. Don't be all like, I'm trying to be cute about it. Like, let's try to find a way to get him to go out with me. He doesn't want to go out with you.
Yeah, why are you so thirsty, Claire? Why are you like, yes, chef? You need to just go find some other avenues, find some other people. It's okay. I think that the biggest thing that's going on with Carmy here, and I think this is why we got that opening that we did at the start of this episode, and those are always great, and Jeremy always kills those, but I think this is really all tied into this idea that he knows that he needs to have something outside of the kitchen, because he knows that as good as he is as a chef, like, he's not really finding a lot of happiness, and he needs to find some sort of outlet to find any sort of happiness. And I think he's grasping at straws at this point, and he's at this place mentally when Claire contacts him that I think he's just like, okay, you know what? I'll do this. I'll see what happens, because he thinks that it's something that he should do. And I don't necessarily know if it's something he even wants to do. I just think that he really believes that he needs to get something out of this, that it's going to enrich his life. But once again, he's thinking fully about himself in that moment, because he's so caught up in his head. He's just not thinking, okay, regardless of if this is something I want or need or whatever else, I've got a partner who is now just like doing all over town, eating all these different things by herself. And this is totally the antithesis of what you actually wanted to do with her in the first place.
Yeah, that could have been fun. You had to Google fun, and that
Yeah.
could have been a lot of fun. Well, it's like, okay, yeah, we're, doing this for work, but work doesn't always have to just be like feel like work. You're going around eating delicious dishes,
Yeah.
getting inspiration, feeling creative. And I think that that's part of the job that Carmy has kind of lost because he has gone through it as a chef, as like a premium chef for a while now, where Sydney's kind of coming in at that, bright-eyed, fresh, ready to try new things. And that's something that I think Carmy really needs. Like, if they want to have a love interest on this show, it's Sydney. Like, just stop it.
I
Like they're so compatible. There is a back and forth with them. They're great as friends, which is
Yeah.
always a nice start of a foundation to moving into romance down the road. I don't know if they'll ever move them there, but like if that's what you're looking for, I'm out on Thirsty Claire. Like I'm sorry.
it doesn't feel that needed. The only thing that feels needed for Carmy is he has to find some sort of escape from the headspace that he's in. It doesn't have to be a love interest. It could just be the food tour. Because like you said,
Yeah.
this looked like a great time. You not only are
Oh,
you
that
eating,
pizza.
I know, and like there was so much good looking stuff in it. I mean, even like the boat tour. Like I've been around that part of Chicago with like the corn towers and all that other sort of stuff, and it's beautiful. It's a really nice way to kind of get out of your head, enjoy the place that you're in, enjoy the company that you have. Sydney's a really good person, and regardless of whether or not it turns romantic, it's just a friendship or what, it could be really, really meaningful for you guys to make some memories together.
Yeah.
You messed that up.
I'm just so glad that they finally figured out some kind of footing seemingly by the end of this. When she comes back to the shop
Yeah.
and they've pulled it all apart because there's mold and raccoons and all kinds of stuff, wood rot that's just happening, that they're like, okay, we had to take it down. And she's just like, cool, thanks for including me, calling me. She had just gotten it in her head from multiple people that are like, you need a partner that communicates with you and that you are feeling like a partner with. And she feels so on the outside. He just completely dropped her that day. Now he's making decisions without talking to her about it. And he's getting it, but not getting it, where he's just like, you need me to call you to tell you that the wall needs to come down because there's wood rot? Like, okay. And she's like, yeah, you need to do that. And he's like, I'm sorry. Oh.
It is really meaningful watching these two. Like they're working on something. Like I want to believe that, Carmy will get better at that after this episode. I don't think he's going to be perfect, but I don't think these two are ever going to be perfect. I don't think that's not what this show is even striving for. It's striving towards this question of what can these two characters really do in order to be happy and in order to be fulfilled. And that's the alternate irony in all of this, is that, they may be able to make this restaurant really successful. They may have the top tier clientele in the entire city. What is that ultimately going to mean? I think that's a big question that's going to be fun to figure out. And at the very least, I think this episode is a stepping stone to the two of them realizing what exactly it is that they need. I love that ravioli was terrible that Sydney made. It would have been so corny if it was really, really good.
No, I really feel that for their dishes to really pop, they need each other, and they need each other to be each other's inspiration to make that pop. I absolutely love that as well, that it was like she took a bite and she's like, nope, still didn't work. I went through all this by myself. I still got nowhere with it. She needs Carmy. Carmy needs her, and he needs to be present. So going forward into this season, I mean, is this a one-off with Claire, or is Claire really going to come in there and muck everything up to the point that Sydney's going to need to put her foot down and just be like, listen, like, you can have this woman outside of the shop, but like right now for the next 11 weeks, we need to get this shop running. Like, see her after.
Let's look at a little bit of a side dish in this episode, which is the culinary school, what's going on there? I don't think it's a surprise that Tina's flourishing because Tina's the best and she's going to flourish in just about everything.
Yeah, she is.
Like, what's going on with that fruit? Like,
Oh.
why?
Listen, sometimes school's not for everybody, and that's totally fine. Sometimes you're just naturally gifted at something, or you've been working at something a really long time and you know how to do this stuff, and adding in all these other things is difficult. And on top of it, I'm somebody who went to college later in life. I went back to college at like 33. I'd never been to college or university or anything like that until I was older. Going back to school older is something that can be a challenge for a lot of people. I mean, it was hard being in a class with a bunch of people who were like straight out of high school and stuff like that. It can be another layer on top of things, like to deal with that or to go to school later in life. So I think there's a bunch of things that are happening with him, but I don't think he's out yet. And I don't mean out of school,
Yeah.
but like out of this. He's still going to be part of this.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's true that that environment is not for everybody. I think the important thing is,
Yeah.
can he take anything away from it? Or at the very least, does it help him to acknowledge what he is good at?
I think tinfoil hat that
Yeah.
Tina is going to take away the knowledge from the school
Yeah.
and is going to be able to, like, after hours, sit down and teach him what she's learning in a way that makes more sense for him.
I love that. That's also just an opportunity to see those characters bond a little bit more. And
Yeah.
we're slowly building towards something. We keep hearing how amazing this season is, and it's really, really good. And
This episode was great.
I still feel like the best is yet to come. I still feel like we haven't even gotten to like the real meal of season 2. But be sure to join our Patreon. Check out our live streams on the Bear and so much more every single week. Thank you to our patrons for
Thank
your
you.
support. We really appreciate that, and we'll see you here next time.